welcome to this episode of the Doggin It Show. Thanks so much for joining us. You saw that little video there from Fort Worth Billiards. We're going to continue keeping all the sponsors up there that helped us out, helped us get out to the Mosconi Cup. And I'm really excited for this little episode here. Do us a favor, hit us up in the chat. Make sure you can hear us and see everything. Make sure everything's good because we have a real treat for you today. We have the freezer, Scott Frost. How's it going, Scott?
What's up, guys? Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Christmas tree in the background is looking nice, man.
I'm all chipper. I'm all holiday-ish.
Well, you're chipper, but you got a hole in your hand.
What happened, man?
Small, minor.
You didn't hear about this?
Just
No?
a fish hook.
You just play through it?
I don't know. I was fishing, and next thing I know, I was under the knife for over an hour and with a specialist. So whatever. I don't want to see the bill. Thank you, Lord, that I have health insurance. So,
jeez. Well, I'm glad
but
you're
it
doing
ain't gonna be good. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw your post when we were up in Vegas, and Melina and I were there for the Mosconi Cup. Matchroom was gracious to allow us in. We did some cool interviews up there. We had a lot of fun, and came back with a lot of ideas for next year, things we can do. But you've been in the American pool scene for a long time. And I just wanted we're going to do a full show, maybe in a day or two, talk all about it and our take on it. But I wanted to just get your general thoughts on the Mosconi and what you thought about it.
I was into it, actually. I couldn't make it, and I haven't made it, but I will probably get there now, sooner or later. But I was into it. I'm disappointed at the end result, right, because we did lose. I think as all of us being around pool and being players, we know that there was literally like 2 or 3 major minor errors that became major because of the timing of the format that probably cost us at least a 9-9 tie going into the final 2 points, in my opinion. I also thought that Earl could have been the right choice. That's neither here nor there. Don't want to talk about spilt milk, but I wasn't disappointed with Earl. I don't think anybody can expect Earl to get up under 2,500 or 3,500 fans and just run racks, right? He's 61 years old. But I did think that just that piece of the puzzle could have been strong enough to help these guys out. If he wins a match or two, it really could have boosted the team. But I was impressed. I thought Jeremy did well with the matchups. I thought he did really well with the matchups. I thought Tyler played well and made a couple of key fumbles towards the end. I thought Skylar played great throughout. I thought Shane played exceptionally solid for Shane at the Mosconi Cup because he's always carrying so much pressure. So overall, as a team, and Oscar, Oscar's Oscar. He stayed solid and consistent all the way through. And I was kind of impressed with Earl for not giving up or blowing up and not really winning a match. I don't believe the whole cup. So overall, I was really pleased with the team and how everything was handled. Just disappointed because I know that I think with a couple little things here or there, that outcome could have been a lot different.
What would be your American top if there was going to be an American Mosconi Cup when it comes to one pocket? Who's making the team, Scott?
Oh gosh,
one pocket,
man.
One pocket, man. Come on now.
Switching gears.
Are you saying like Americans versus Filipinos maybe or something like that?
Well, I was gonna say Europeans, but I would love to be Filipino. So let's start with who would be your 5 on the Filipino team then, if that's easier.
Bustamante or Colo. Paguilon, oh geez, that'd be a strong team. Or Colo, shit. Bustamante or Colo, Paguilon. I know I'm probably Gomez. Oh my goodness gracious. And let's just throw in one maybe little weak link in Warren Camco, who's like a great player. You know what I mean? So wow, I never even thought about how strong they would have, how strong of a team they would have. I guess.
What would the American team
amazing.
look like, Scott?
I don't know.
Now, come on now.
I mean, I think I'd have to say Chohan.
Right.
Gosh, I'd want to bring back like a Shannon Dalton or something, to be honest with you, just because he's not out of the game. I know that I don't know, man. I don't know. I would definitely, and Skylar's up there now, so I would definitely have obviously Chohan. You're putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
I would want I would want a couple young guns for sure. I really it would be tough for me to answer that question, man. I really don't want to answer that
Oh
question.
no, we're
You
not
got
letting you
one.
off the we're not letting you off the hook this easy, buddy. All right, so we got Tony up there. I'm gonna go on a limb and say Chip, probably Scott Frost. So we got three easily off the bat. You
Well, I,
mentioned
I think that yeah, I think that a team though, I mean, I think a team is more than just who the player is. I think constructing a team, it has so much to do with um, how they get along. I really do, and how they can receive each other. They don't have to be friends, but how those personalities might receive each other. So it might necessarily, and it has nothing to do with Chip or Tony or anybody, but my five might be a lot different than somebody else's five. I might
Yeah.
throw Shane in there. I might throw Sky in there if I've got three good movers, or or a real creative player, and then two real smart players and movers, and then two straight shooters, right? Didn't know the game. So I think that's actually an amazing idea. To be honest with you, we had talked about this like 15 years ago or something like that. Like there should be some type of standard big event, like a Moscone Cup, but one pocket, right? I mean, that's a great
it,
idea.
it it
But
would have to be at Buffalo's, right? You would think.
oh gosh, I would hope,
Yeah.
man. That's the forefront of big one pocket right now, in my opinion. It has been, and Buff is the best, man. He really is.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining in. I see some comments in there. Folks are asking, what about the wrap up to Moscone? We are going to do that, but we have a pretty important interview coming tomorrow morning that we want to knock out first. You guys will get the drift of that once you see it. But also, we also have some of the post match interviews, especially with Team Europe. We were able to kind of pin them down, and Melina posted those up on Windows Open, but we still have to get those to YouTube. So just bear with us for a minute. We talked with Josh and David and actually the whole team, I think, after the match there at Moscone. So let's transition. We had a little bit of fun kind of putting Scott on the hot seat real quick. Uh, he did all right, I guess. We'll let him off the hook.
Oh
But what
God.
we're really here to talk about is
I
this
should know this
match.
with you guys, though. I should know this. Like every
There's
time
always
we're
going to
all
be a
cool
curveball.
setting it up. There it is. I should know it. It's good though. It's all good.
Yeah, so let's talk about this big match coming up. I I'm I'm really excited for this match. I think it's super intriguing, right? You have Tony Chohan, who's just such a creative one pocket player, does so many things right. Is still a great ball pocketer, and just an awesome mover and thinker of the game. Going against Shane Van Boning, who what can you say about him? Plays all games well, and seems to not like one pocket too much. But I have a feeling he'll like it pretty much over the next few days. At least he'll want to like it because they're playing for quite a bit of money. So, Scott, tell
Yeah.
us when you saw this match come out, what was your initial reaction or gut feeling about it?
Okay. So I was actually at a tournament with Tony when Shane. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Shane kind of called him out online. Is that what happened? I think that happened. He called him out on Facebook. This
Uh,
was, and now
Uh,
I'm putting you guys on the spot, which is
I don't
well
no, I
recall
think
deserved.
this.
no. So I
I
I
believe he
interviewed
did.
Shane. I interviewed Shane and Harlingen whenever he was playing Chip, and I asked him point blank. I said, "Would you play,
Okay.
the top two guys?" I said, "Would you play Tony or would you play Alex?" And he said very specifically, "No, I wouldn't." And then after that interview, Phil and them got involved and reached out to Tony, and there was a mutual interest. And then once the numbers started getting barked around, you know how it goes, Scott. Then all of a sudden something
Yeah.
you don't want to play sounds a lot more intriguing once you start hearing about
Sure.
pretty big numbers, right?
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. And so I apologize, Joey. Go back to the question.
No,
What
I
do I
just
think
want to know
about
your
this?
initial reaction. I mean, when we hear about these
Oh,
one
okay.
pocket matchups, we all have an initial reaction to it, and this one I think kind of caught us out of the blue, right? One that we weren't.
Yeah.
It's not Tony and Alex again. It's not you and Chip. It's not.
Yeah.
So, what were your initial thoughts about this?
I felt like Shane was stepping out there. I really did. I felt like he was really showing a little bit of speed right then, right? But I have reasons for that. I also immediately thought when I heard that it was going to be in Vegas, I immediately thought, boy, those two front tables are tight, and I'll go into why I feel like that's important for one side or another. But I thought that Shane was kind of, and Shane and I are really good friends, and so are Tony and I. But I'm gonna speak it like it is. I thought he was stepping out there pretty good to play Tony.
This isn't the first time they've matched up. I mean, I know it's been quite a few years, but Tony's had Shane's number.
Yeah,
The few times they have played, Tony's gotten the better of him. I think that's what people forget because they're kind of living in this year with Shane winning a world championship and seeing all of his successes. But Tony's still Tony, and to be respected.
yeah. Tony's definitely to be respected. I guess if you guys wanted to like break it down and go into it, I have my own opinion, right?
That's why you're
But
here.
but
That's why you're here,
but I,
buddy. Yeah.
so basically, initially, like if you're looking at and we're kind of working on this, and a lot of us have talked about this, but I think there should be a standard one pocket table. It should be either 4 1/8 or 4 1/4. 4 1/4 with new cloth plays like 4 1/2. So we don't. When I say we, the majority of top one pocket players, and I might not even be in that field now, but the majority of us want that 4 1/8 because you can do a lot more around the pockets, and then the up table pressure game is valid. So when I initially heard that they were playing in Vegas, I'm thinking, well, for sure they're going to play on the front two tables. Now the second thing that comes to mind immediately when that happens is I'm like, well, can Shane beat Alex? Right? Like I mean, I'm just instantly saying to myself, can Shane beat Alex playing one pocket on a tight table? I don't think ever. I'm
I
just
don't
being
think so.
honest. Not in a long race. I don't think ever. I don't want to say ever because trust me, if Shane starts playing one pocket, he's the type of guy. A month down the road, and I've seen it before. He probably could play Alex. I'm sure he could. But when you're not playing it full time, I don't think he could beat Alex just off the cuff with a couple weeks practice. So that was my initial reaction, and then some things kind of came out that I'd heard from other people, and I'd and I think it's going to be a closer match than I initially thought. That's for sure.
You mentioned the tables. I think what are the conditions? I believe it's 4 1/8, but they're playing on new cloth and polished balls. Is that right? If
Yeah,
if I'm not
it's
mistaken.
not 4 1/8. It's not 4 1/8.
So 4.5 then.
No, it's 4 1/4, but it was
Yeah,
four
I
and an
heard
eighth.
that
Oh,
too,
And
four
I'm
and a
four and a
not
quarter.
quarter.
I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I found this out. A friend of mine wanted me to okay some money up there for one of the sides. So I called, made a phone call, and asked the guy if the guy would put the money up for me personally, and I'll be there tomorrow night, which I will be. The person that I was talking to is highly connected in this match, and that person asked me who I liked, and I'm not going to name names, but I said, well, I'll tell you what, those tight pockets, in my opinion, favor Tony because he's going to put a lot of pressure on Shane. He can do all those things in the corners, and he can do all those things around the stack. He's got all those kick shots down, and then he can even better play those long rail banks, putting the cue ball up table, keeping that heat on Shane where Shane just can't come off that back rail and split the pocket, right? When you've got 4 1/8 inch pockets, I don't care if it's new cloth or not, the ball will spit out. That's the difference. So he goes, well, I kind of like the straight shooter. I said, really? That's interesting. And I said, why is that? And he says, well, the pockets were opened up a month ago, and that was part of the deal.
Hmm.
So they were opened up a quarter of an inch. But I guess this is known from on both sides. But because I'd heard it through third party, but I'd confirmed it. So this changes things dramatically. Dramatically for me, it changes things, right? I'm not betting either way, but I do have a friend that I had to okay the money to. He's flying in tomorrow night. I'm not betting either way in this match.
Well,
So
for
Scott, you've matched up with Tony before. Uh, if you're Shane going into this match, is there anything that you try to do different than what you've done in the past? Any strategies to try to execute against Tony that might improve your chances?
I can tell you Shane's real goal and main goal playing one pocket is to get the first shot, right? Like that's really
Of
what he's
course.
looking at.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Shane's looking at styles, and if I'm Shane, I probably wouldn't either, right? I'm really looking to get the first shot. Now, he probably should have a game plan towards Tony's style. He probably should have, and he probably does. What game plan Shane would be thinking, I don't know. I definitely know that you better keep Tony off the bank, right? You better keep him off the bank, and you better keep him off the kick. And that's something I think Shane might struggle with is he might overlook some kick shots that Tony's going to have. Or what I mean by that is I think Shane might be leaving some kicks that he doesn't see that Tony will, because Tony is, in my opinion, he finds these kicks that a lot of people don't see from space, right? Like out in the center balls that he can kick and put them behind the stack or put them behind a ball or two. So I think Shane needs to look for those kind of things, long rail, short rail banks, and kind of like the uncharacteristic kick shot that's available.
Call me crazy, but both these guys are a little impatient at times, right? Shane's gonna be looking for the shot, like you said.
Absolutely.
Tony has been known to take flyers here or there, especially whether if he's in a bit of a hole. I mean, I know he can be, he can adjust styles, but Shane's pretty much going to come at you like a freight train. I feel like I don't think he's going to be doing a whole lot of this high level moving like some of you guys may be doing. And if he starts, and this is what I saw against Chip, it's like once he got going, he was just relentless. Oh, and once he got comfortable with those banks, it was just,
I agree. Were you there when he played Chip, Mike?
I
Were
think
you
I
at
was
that
there
match?
I was there the first day. Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
those pockets? Is this true? Were those pockets 5 inches
I don't think they were 5, but I'm pretty sure they were at least 4.5.
with
So,
new
but I
cloth,
don't.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think that. I mean, Chip's never been one to want to play on tight pockets anyway. You would know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Shane and I played a set for 33 hours in Vegas, and I don't feel power from Shane. I don't feel like he's powerful, but I guess he's just so he's like the best executioner on the planet, right? He's like, I don't know, everything he does is just so smooth and good. But he whiffled banks in on me for like 12 straight hours, they said. I gave him a ball after he won the Derby in 2000 or whatever, 2011 or 12. I gave him a ball and he beat me. And then we adjusted to half a ball and we played 33 hours and the coin was on zero and our backers made us quit. My point to this is, though, that we were playing on 4.5 inch pockets, and boy, oh boy, is he no fun to play with on a little bigger pocket. I mean, like you said, Mike, he's just gonna keep going to his hole, right? He's gonna find a way to get something going to his hole, and he's so good with the cue ball, and he's so good at executing. I think in this situation, though, with new cloth and 4.25, it really changes this. I'll be honest. I thought Tony was a pretty solid favorite in this match. I thought he was a pretty solid favorite in this match. And I get the new cloth part, but man, 4.25 is going to now play closer to 4.5. And if you're watching the Tyler and Mora match, they're cheating the pockets pretty good right now as we speak. I don't know the score of that match, but those pockets are taking the balls quite well.
So, Scott, what about flipping it around? I asked you what Shane needs to do. What about Tony? Do you think Tony will do anything?
21
What is
24 Tyler. Sorry, 21-24 Tyler. Race to 30.
cool? Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Sorry,
what
go
about
ahead.
Tony? Do you think Tony will? You think he'll be able to adjust to what Shane's laying down, or do you think Tony's just going to be Tony and play his game?
Tony's typically pretty good at being the one to control, especially early in games. So I expect Tony to be the one to try and have control. It's going to be up to Tony whether he makes the mistake or leaves the shot to Shane, in my opinion. If Tony's playing Shane's game, Tony's in trouble. I think Tony's vision is going to be to make Shane play Tony's game. Um, It'll be interesting to see. I also think the races. It's a race to 24. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a really short race for these two guys.
I think
But
that favors Shane because I think Shane, like I said,
absolutely,
can get a little impatient. I think that he wants to just gun on him and just and get to the finish line as quickly as possible. Where I think that where Tony, if Tony wants to squeeze a little bit, then maybe Shane may go for lower percentage things, but on a bigger pocket, he may be able to get there, or get the ball in the hole or close to the hole. And in a race to 8, it's like you're not going to have the world of time like you would in a race of, let's say, 10, Scott. You know,
I, I agree. Typically or historically, though, in longer races, bigger guys are not as fit in a lot of ways to play longer sessions. So I don't know if it favors. I don't
oh,
know
I see
what
what you're
it
saying,
does
like
to Tony's side.
the health, the
You
weight.
know,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, Tony's a big guy,
he
man.
is.
I mean, he talks about it all the time. He's not a small guy, and I can tell you, with the mental drain and then the physical on top of it comes to a point where you just feel like all the gas is kind of out of you, and you're just going through the motions. So I don't know who that would favor. I think this match is going to be real close. I really do think this match is going to be real close. I wouldn't be surprised though if Tony beat him by 5 or 6 games. I would be surprised the other way though. I can tell you that. I'd be surprised if Shane beat him by 5 or 6. I wouldn't be surprised if Tony beat Shane by 5 or 6.
So, guys, thanks for joining us. We're here talking with Scott Frost. We have a few questions in the chat that I want to address. First of all, someone's asking, Matthew Moorhead's asking, where's the Tyler match being played? Tyler, John Moore. They're playing right now at Griff's, same venue where Shane and Tony are going to play. I think that's why they're playing today, so they don't overlap with that match tomorrow.
Right.
Also, Scott, while you were talking before giving one of your answers, I was asking folks, hey, do you have any questions for Scott? Somebody wants to know when the playing hand's going to be ready, when you're going to get back out there. We talked about your little fishing injury. Do you have
Yeah,
plans? Do you have plans to play in 2023, Scott?
I do. Yeah. So I I go through spurts, man. I mean, I like to live my life. I love to fish. I love the outdoors. I've loved it since before I played pool. But I am actually planned. My fireworks business starts the day after Christmas, and goes through January 3rd. And I am booked, literally booked, from January 5th all the way through the middle of February to play pool. And that hasn't
Wow.
happened with me in a long time. So I'm a little concerned about it. I don't know if I'll make it through, but yeah, I'm excited though. Also, and my bass boat's going back to the manufacturer. It's a high end bass boat, but we found a flaw in the hull. So I've got that going back. It's all kind of planned out, right? I'm going to play for at least probably around 2 months straight.
Someone, Tiny Ragusa asks, your thoughts on Fedor Gorst, I guess,
Hmm.
relating to his one pocket game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think we all. I don't. You don't have to be an expert to speak on him. He's the man. He's amazing, and I didn't think for a while. I know for quite a while he got to a point where he had told some close people to him that he wasn't going to play one pocket anymore because it affected his 10 ball game. And I know also that he said he didn't enjoy it that much. And I know that from sources close to him. But when, like you said earlier, Mike, when you've got money involved and the numbers right and things
Right.
change, you've got to adapt to your surroundings, right? And that kid is the
Well,
best. That kid
It's
is the best.
it's not just that, but he's running out of options, so he's gotta find different ways to stay in business when it comes to gambling, whether it's giving up weight or stepping
Right.
up and playing better opponents. I'm sure his team wouldn't like him facing a guy like Tony or Alex. I know he had plans to play Roberto, and then those fell through. And I think seeing how Roberto's been playing this past year, I think it's over a year ago I would have said you're nuts, but this after this year, I think Roberto's playing a lot better when it comes to all games, really. I was pretty intrigued by it, but
He
I think
is.
that this match in particular really sets the tone of where I think Federer would line up, because I think that if let's say Shane were to beat Tony, and I don't care what the scoreline would be,
Sure. Sure.
but on these type of conditions, then I think that Tony Federer matchup becomes a lot more evened out for me, for my money anyway, because I think that Shane would be a little similar style when it comes to Federer.
I absolutely agree. I think that this match will tell that tale. I do believe that Federer and Tony should probably play. I really feel that that match deserves to be seen and deserves to be played. That's up to those guys. But I
Right.
think those levels, even though the styles are completely different, I think those levels are pretty close. Um, and so I'd love to see that match happen.
Catching up
There would
on
probably be some big numbers, I would think.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Tony or yeah, I don't know. I don't know what either side would think, but if you know how it is at that level, I mean,
Right.
when both sides agree to play, it's pretty much unlimited money on each end at to a point. You know.
Right. It can get a little silly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
it can.
one of our Facebook followers, David Arsenault, wants to know who's your favorite one pocket player other than you, I guess, and who are you hoping to play next? Two-parter.
Well, first off, I'm not my favorite one pocket player
Not anymore.
ever. No, I don't know that I ever was really. I came off like I was because that was part of the act, but I'm harder on myself than most people will ever realize. My favorite was all time was Efren. Like he was the most creative player, and still, in my opinion, the most creative player. Shot shots, unconventional shots that people still don't shoot to this day. He just did things at a different, and I'm not going to say at a different level, but he did things completely different and in very unorthodox style that you could not predict. So Efren was the funnest or the most fun player for me to watch in his early years when I had first started playing, which was in the mid 90s, right? In the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, I got to watch him as a kid, and it was absolutely amazing.
Was it just like his ability to get out of a trap, or was it his pocketing? What was it that made him just
It,
so
it's
dynamic and in,
it it seemed like he was never the one getting out of the trap. It was actually his ability. It was his ability to set traps up to a dozen shots in advance, right? Like
wow.
if you could pick that up, and which I researched and watched a bunch of videos on him, and I would watch them over and over. But his ability to set traps up to a dozen shots in advance was something that he was an absolute genius. He would do something so simple, and I always told people this back in the day. I said because I would play him a lot, I was getting spots when I was young, getting big spots. But he would do something that looked like he just nobody like if you're talking to your friend and watching the match at the same time. And he does this. You probably wouldn't stop and say a word, right? You just keep talking to your friend, and you'd watch what he did, and you're like, whatever. But when you're at the table and he does that to you, you realize why that like four shots down the road, that shot was why you're screwed, right? So he was very very. I mean, just it's such a level, it's such a level or an in depth level with his strategic play that I can't explain. Like it was crazy. It was
Is,
crazy. Now it's
is
more
that
predictable.
is that what most of you top guys do? Is that how far down the road you're looking at, or is it more of like when I'm playing something, I want to know more or less where I'm going to put you, but then I'm also going to think of these 4 or 5 different options where I may end up with here in a minute.
Yeah, honestly, it's very rarely. Think I don't think. I mean, I might move 5 to the max 5 to 7 maybe in advance, and that would be very rare, but usually I'm working in like threes, right? Like I'm shooting a shot, predicting what he's doing and knowing what I'm going to do next. But definitely there's
And
those
in
situations.
a second, processing
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, quickly, right? You're naturally you're programmed to see that stuff once you get to that level. That's just kind of what it is, right? It's getting there. But yeah, and I think there's a lot of natural ability to that too, because I know a lot of top nine ball players back in the day that I was with and on the road with and worked with on the side that never could get that. So I think there's a lot of ability to have that gift, but when you do have that gift, it also damages other parts of your pool game. And I don't mean to get off on into right field or left field on that, but
No, we love
it's
this,
very.
brother.
Yeah,
My whole
one
point to that is that you very rarely see a guy that plays the highest level of rotation pool and the highest level of one pocket.
Well,
Yeah.
we got a pretty close glimpse to it. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't going to put Tony as number one, but they're going to put him definitely within that top three. And I think a lot of people would put Shane in that, top five range when it comes to rotation pools. So I think this is not quite the epitome of this type of matchup, but
You
it's
know,
pretty damn close to it.
yeah. Maybe you misunderstood what I meant. I meant like playing both games at that
Yeah.
level, like
Oh,
Shane
okay.
playing one pocket at the highest level. So my whole point to that is Efren. Like he was one. The Filipinos were very good at that. Like, but Efren was probably the best at playing nine ball at the highest level, and playing one pocket at the highest level. My whole
Yeah.
I
point,
got
that
you.
was kind of my point at working in twos and threes. When you get to that style of game, it does affect your rotation game. And that, going back to what Feeder had said a time or two to his camp, that it kind of frustrates him, and because he enjoys rotation more than he enjoys one pocket. But he's probably, in my opinion, who else could I think of right now? He's probably, in my opinion, knocking on the door as like the best in both, right? Like, which is very
Does he
rare.
does he have that ceiling, Scott? You feel like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah,
it's a
Here's
big compliment.
Here's an
yeah.
interesting question for you, Scott, from one of our YouTube followers, Ralph Cleary. He says, "Are Filler, Shane, and Federer phenoms, or have their ultra straight shooting styles began to change the game or style of one pocket, and is it becoming less important to have like a moving game?"
Styles definitely change, right? Like styles have completely changed over the decades. I don't know how much where the ceiling of that ends, because I don't know really. All the guys do now is work to the first shot. So that's a great question, Ralph. Are those guys phenoms? Absolutely. I think that Filler. I don't think. I mean, well, yeah, okay. My opinion. Filler's probably got the smoothest delivery I've ever felt or seen in my life, and I've played Filler quite a bunch in some pretty big tournaments, especially at the Derby and this and that. But when you see it up close and you really pay attention to Filler's delivery and his stroke and the sound of his cue hitting the ball, and then the sound of the object ball contact, it's unbelievable. That kid has a gift, and that's a phenom, right? That's a phenom. I feel like Shane had to work for his. I feel like Jason Shaw is a phenom. I feel like Filler's a phenom. But we're talking about natural players. I also feel like Earl Strickland was a phenom, right? So
What part of that is more dangerous, guys? Is it just like, because obviously you're never gonna want to
oof.
sell out or even think about selling out, but is it more of like just keeping them off that bank because that's the most realistic thing that you're gonna go and give them to like dangle that carrot?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously not trying to leave him straight in or any type of shot,
yeah, yeah,
but keeping him off the bank, absolutely. I would actually leave him. That's where the tighter pockets come into play, right? Because these
right.
guys do miss, right? And once they get a taste of missing and you get punished from it, then it really does affect you going forward the rest of the match. So I would rather leave a guy off angle, frozen on the top rail with a shot to his pocket, where if he misses it, it might cost him, versus leaving him a bank, right? Because these guys are so good at executions that the banks just seem like second nature sometimes.
So, Scott, a question from Shorty Dancer, one of our YouTube followers, who we actually met at Moscone Cup. That was
We
kind of
did.
cool. But
Cool.
Shorty asked, what did you text Shane during his match with Chang? And I remember you saying something about this, but one, what did you text him? And two, will there be another text message during this match if he needs it?
Coach Frost.
There was actually a text when Shane just played Shaw. There was a few actually. Shane was texting me and I was texting him, but that one I couldn't do much in that one. He was toast there. Um, I don't really remember. I kind of got on him, right? Because Shane tells. I'm not going to say what Shane said though, but he's human. We're all human, man. And that guy plays more freaking pool than anybody I've ever seen. And he was just frustrated. He was frustrated and kind of like put himself into some type of coma that he didn't think he could get out of, and nobody around him, was able to do that, right? So I just sent him a message, and then he responded with a negative connotation, and I went back at him pretty aggressively. like, because you don't want to go back and say, oh well, okay, yeah, you might be right. But I went back at him and said, what the f are you talking about? Look, take a break, go look in the mirror. You know who you are. You know you can do this. And I just kept pushing him, and I didn't stop pushing him until I saw his body movement and his stroke and everything kind of completely changed in the middle of that transition to where he started to come back. And then we talked after the match, but I didn't do anything. I just kind of woke him up, right? We all need that. We all need that. Whether it's you're there in person or you've got a friend over the phone. I shut my phone off when I play, so that wouldn't work for me. But rotation players are a little different. I don't think it's as big of as big a deal with your phone playing rotation, but you need all of your mind playing one pocket.
Have you ever had one of those moments in a big gambling match or a tough spot where someone had to go wake your ass up and kind of tell you to go look in
Slap
the
you
mirror
around a
yourself?
little. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, man. I mean, like Billy and Cardona was just, yeah, yeah. He grabbed me around the neck one time and said, "If you ever miss another ball like that, you don't want to know what's going to happen." I was playing Dippy in Vegas. True story. We're playing for over 100,000 each, I've had many situations like that back when I was on the road. Right. That's why I always went with the right guy, and they can, you can see from the outside a lot of times better than you can from the inside,
Right, of
especially if
course.
you're especially if you're in a bad mindset. Like if you're in a good mindset, usually everything's just clicking on all cylinders. But there's a lot of times where we all make mistakes in everyday life. Like I need my woman to tell me, "Are we there, guys? Can you hear me?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I need my woman to tell me when I might be making a bad decision with a business move or this or that. So it's just like anything else. I think everybody needs somebody in their corner to
Keep it
snap
real
them
with you.
out.
Yeah, check you a
Absolutely.
little bit. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely. It's just that's life, dude. I mean, everybody needs somebody in their corner. I've always believed that, right? Nobody can do anything in this life completely alone. And if they say they did, I'd be hard pressed to say somebody didn't have help or pushed along the way here or there, right? And that's how I feel.
Hey guys, we're here with Scott Frost. We're breaking down the Tony Chohan Shane Van Boening match coming up over the next several days. We're also getting some questions in with Scott Frost while he's here. Do us a favor if you want to check out our Patreon
Oh,
at.
we lose
Oh,
Scott?
we lost Scott. Where'd he go? But head over to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/dogging it. And Mike, we're going to give away a few of these passes, right?
Four
Four
passes. We're giving away
4
four passes.
passes to watch
Yep.
this. So we're gonna have to do a drawing on that probably
And
sometime, what? It's
and
gotta
not
be
just
today or
that.
tomorrow.
Yeah, no, for sure. It'll probably be tomorrow we'll do it, but it won't just be passes. I think we got an OB Phoenix shaft that we'll be giving away pretty soon as well. I got some Kamui vouchers to give away. I'm trying to think. We got a bunch of stuff that we're gonna be. Oh, some Moscone Cup programs signed by both teams, the captains, Emily Frazier, Barry Hearn, the whole crew out there. So we got a bunch of really cool stuff to give away, but including pay-per-view for this one. So this is what I'm most intrigued about. I think we're trying to get Scott back. Maybe shoot him a message in the group chat, shall we see
Yeah,
see
I'll
what's
check
going
in
on.
with
But
him, but
you
also
guys
we're
can
gonna be oh, sorry, Mike. I was just gonna say we're gonna be putting some exclusive content in there, right? Where you'd have to go there to check it out. And, you can help support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. So check it out.
Yeah, for sure. And make sure and go support the pay per view as well. If you guys aren't going to be out in Vegas, out at Griff's, they're one of the sponsors of our show as well. But check out omegabilliards.com. I think the pay per view, I want to say, is around maybe 25, 29, somewhere around there. But for this, listen, you haven't seen Shane play one pocket against this kind of guy in Tony. I was very disappointed that it was right after the Moscone Cup because then I knew I would have to go home. But I tell you what, if it was any other time of the year, I would have been out there and I would have stayed and sweated the entire thing because this is one of those matchups that's just going to be fireworks. Joe, you want to let Scott in?
Looks like his here we go. Alright, Scott's back. Where is he?
Yeah.
Is he here?
What's up, guys?
Hey, can't see you, Scott.
Yeah.
All
His
right.
in, his internet's a little. There it is. It's coming back to us now.
Okay.
But yeah, omegabilliards.com. You guys can check out the pay per view. It starts tomorrow, December 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's a race to 8, 16, and 24. They're playing even on, I believe, 4 and a quarter inch pockets out there at Griff's. And I tell you what, man, I was out there the other day. That place is just on fire, man. I mean, it was jam packed every single. Well, Joe, you were out there with me. Tell them how it was, man.
Yeah, every night that JRB was playing Alex one night, Mitch Hellerman another night, betting lots of money, maybe 5,000 a game or something. A lot of fun, tons of people around the rail checking it out. Scott keeps dropping. Not sure what's happening, but we'll see if we can get him back in here. But yeah, Griff's was so much fun. Hundreds of people in there. So check it out when you're in town, and definitely catch this pay per view. Melina, I think maybe we should talk about a little bit about what you're thinking for this match. You betting on this match?
No, I've been too busy getting ready for the Mosconi Cup. That's been where my head's been at the last week. But if I'm probably gonna get in something before it starts. It's so hard to predict. I know a lot of people are really liking Tony in this matchup. I think both of them, I've been kind of weighing where I think there's an edge. And obviously, I think Tony's going to be a favorite when it comes to banking, and obviously in the moving game. When it comes to shooting, though, and putting just pure putting the balls in the hole, I don't think Tony can hold a candle when it comes to Shane, and Shane can be very intimidating in that regard. But it's a matter of, will Tony give him a chance to get there? That's the thing, because he may keep him knotted up, and Shane can get frustrated. I think that's the biggest thing as well. Is if Tony can just keep him in difficult spots and make him take fouls. I think Tony may beat him there to the shot more often than not. But this is a matchup. Listen, I've been all over the country, and anytime you're somewhere and you see these two guys rather, that are anywhere to be found, if Shane's hitting the ball, I guarantee you Tony ain't far away chirping in his ear, talking about let's play some. Let's like he's always there needling them. And Shane will turn off his ears and finally get to the point where he'll tell him, hey, you know what? Shut the you know what up. So
Well,
yeah,
let's
man.
give people a little bit of insight, Mike, in terms of like how we do our job, so to speak. So we're at Griff's. We're talking with the OBQs folks, the other Jeremy Jones and Amy, and we checked out Tony's new line of OBQs, right? And Tony comes in, and we're like, awesome. Tony gives us a high five. First of all, he's like the most popular guy in the pool room when he walks in. Everybody wants to
Oh
say
yeah.
hi, and he's
Yeah.
so nice, talks to everybody. And so we roll out the cues on the table, and we're like, "Hey, Tony, you got a few minutes? We want to interview you. Get ready for this match." And Tony was like, "Yeah, I do, but give me a couple minutes. I'm gonna eat something." So he ate something, and then you and I grabbed something to eat. We ate something, and then we turned around, and Tony was gone. So a lot of times we have stuff lined up for you guys, and if we're not like right on top of it, we miss out, and we missed out on that interview with Tony. But I think the key word for this week for this match is patience. I think if Tony is patient, doesn't go after those flyers or those spectacular shots, which I think is tough, right? Because I think Tony thrives on that. I think that gives him energy when he can find something in the rack, when he can find something completely obscure that nobody else sees. I think he wants to shoot at that ball. I think he gets really excited about that. But if he can play tight in this match and not give Shane a whole lot to look at, I mean, he's going to outmove him. I think that's the key. He just needs to stay patient. Now, on Shane's side of it, well, Shane needs to when he does get a look, he needs to make it. He needs to come with it, right? And then he needs to get 8 and out. He can't be doing onesie twosies and playing safe. So I think if I had to make a prediction on this match, Scott, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Scott?
I don't think Scott can hear us.
Yeah, he's probably
Yeah.
gone. Um, but yeah, if I had to make a prediction on this match, I'm going with Tony Chohan. And I'm the
I'm
worst
surprised you
side.
didn't say like a 23-23 tie.
Nah,
Knowing
well,
no knowing you, Joey.
I'm the worst side better in the world, so everybody's rushing to
Don't
get their
remind me.
money on Shane right now. But I really like Tony in this matchup. Look, one thing we said about Earl from the Mosconi Cup is we really thought that, he had some mental fatigue toward the end of that, right? And Shane was a part of that event too. And so has he recovered enough from that event to come out and really bear down and focus in a game that he doesn't necessarily love? That's the
I
question.
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot of stock in that, because just knowing Shane, I think Shane's not Shane's not a dummy in the sense that he thought that they were. I think he knew they were underdogs in the Mosconi Cup. So when the wheels kind of came off, I think it was kind of like, okay, well, here it is. And he's been through that before. Let's just be real about it. So that part's nothing new. Whenever we talk to Mark and the guys, part of the reason why they put it for a few days after the Mosconi Cup was because it gave Shane a chance to go and practice and hit some balls and play some one pocket. So um, and not just that, but Shane is hyper competitive. I mean, incredibly competitive. Just hates to lose. Uh, but like you said, I think that operative word when it comes to patience is going to be key for both these guys right here. Because if let's say Shane comes out, hitting them pretty hard, Tony may get a little impatient and try to punch him back. Let's see if we can bring Scott back in here. Scott, are you
Can you
there,
guys
buddy?
hear me? Do you
He's
hear me?
back. He's back. Just in time, Scott. We're taking predictions.
All right.
What do you got, Tony and Shane?
Gosh, I don't know. I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be with. I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be within 3 games either way. But if it's a blowout, I think Tony's the one to do it. I think it's gonna be a close match. It's impressive. It's impressive to see Shane get up there and play one match every 6 months and do everything else he does in
Yeah,
between and play a
yeah.
guy like Tony. It's freaking impressive, right? Like I don't know. I mean, he's
If
just so talented.
if Tony wins, what's going to be the key to that, Scott? How's he going to get there?
Well, you've actually mentioned it a couple times, and Tony and I've talked about this because I really off the table. I try to help anybody. If Tony plays a little bit of defense and protects his leads, he can easily beat Alex. I think he can easily be the best player in the world. I think that's up to Tony, right? Tony's own worst enemy, just like I am mine. He's so
Yeah.
creative that it gets him in trouble, and he's so good at doing certain things. And when you're at that level, it's tough to hold yourself back sometimes. But I think if Tony tightens up on the reins when he's supposed to and stays powerful and aggressive when he's supposed to, I think he could beat Shane pretty easily.
Well,
I'm being honest.
that was one thing about the Alex match that really intrigued me because I saw Tony get to 7 so many times and lose when he was at 7, and I think he was getting what 9-8 from Alex.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's kind of been Tony's downfall. Tony knows that, right? Like that's kind of his mo. Is that? But the problem with that is Styles, right? Like
Right.
it's an on and off switch, and when you turn that off switch on, then the on switch doesn't work as good, right? It's like you've got a WD-40 that on switch all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
If you're not, then the off switch is real. You've got to be careful. So it's a real fine balance. Alex is great at both, right? That's what makes Alex a world champion. Very few people are really good at moving and offense. I was never good at both at the same time. I was always really offensive and pocketed balls well and ran balls as good as anybody for a long time. Once I realized you could start missing those balls or make these mistakes, I started feeling that I could win with more moving and then run the balls. But it's tough to run the balls like Shane or Filler or somebody like that or Fedor when you're moving a lot. So that's the struggle that Tony has within the balance of his game, in my opinion.
Okay, so let's say this was like a Omega Billiards 2 fight contract with these guys, like they do in like MMA or something. And let's say Tony wins this one. Who would you want to see him play next?
Feeder, without a doubt.
How about
I didn't
Shane?
think
Same
I
question.
didn't think the feeder and Roberto Gomez is a good friend of mine. I didn't think the Feeder and Gomez match was. I mean, I would have laid 3-2 on Feeder at least. I'm just being honest. But Feeder and Tony, I think, is a good match. Where they play, that's a whole nother situation. Size pockets, that's a whole nother situation. There really has to be a standard pocket in the game of one pocket, at least at the pro level. There really needs to be a standard table, at least a standard pocket size. There
So
has to be.
Fedor and Tony on a 4 1/8, old cloth. Who'd you like?
I like Tony.
Okay.
Four
And
and a
how
half
about
is
if
better than.
Shane wins? If Shane wins, Who would you like to see Shane play if in 6 months from now he's going to play another big one pocket set?
Has to be
I think
Alex.
I think it'd be cool to watch Shane play Alex or Feeder. I'd like to see Shane play Feeder, but that won't happen, right?
No, it ain't gonna happen.
Probably not. Most likely not.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I think Shane and Feeder's styles are very similar, right? They're both great executioners. They have great cue balls, and they don't freaking miss. So I would really like to see them play. Alex is going to be more of a technician, right? In my mind, I always view Alex as a technician. I have my whole life. He's so good with that cue ball, and he's such a mental player, right? Like he everything he does, there's mental moves behind every little thing he does, including his laugh. When he's laughing, you better look out because he's planning something for you. But I guess Shane and Alex would be the match.
All right, who do you give the advantage to when it comes to banking the ball, Scott, in this matchup here?
I give it to Tony. Tony banks the ball so well, man.
Tony banks balls that I look at and I say that ball can't be banked, and he still banks it. You know,
he's banked some balls that I don't think can be banked. Yeah,
it's crazy.
He's up there.
Who's gonna have more patience between these two?
Shane.
You think so?
I know so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shane's such a disciplined player, man. He's a disciplined player. He's so good at executing that he knows he's going to have to shoot when it's time. But I think that Shane's going to protect his cue ball quite well. I think I think Shane will be the more patient player in the match. Yeah.
Will that be the difference maker, you think? Or do you think that Tony's just gonna really put him in some, twisted up spots where Shane ain't gonna have a choice but to,
Yeah, I think both of those things. I think that's going to definitely happen. It's a whole different ball game, guys, and I hate harping on it. Right, like it's a whole different ball game with new cloth and 4 1/4 pockets. It's just a whole different ball game. It's going to be more of a gun show, right? They're going to be slinging.
Scott, you're going up there to watch this match, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about you send back some of your insights to us through Messenger or whatever? Maybe you can come on later in the week and let us know what you're witnessing up there as it's going on.
I'd love to. I've got a couple friends that are eloping, and they don't play pool, so I'm going up there for a wedding, and then another friend of mine's up there, so I'll be in and out. But yeah, I'd love to get back with you guys. You guys are the best.
We appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, thanks so much for stopping by. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulty there. I'm so glad you were able to get back in. I know that people, you could tell by, we have hundreds of comments here of people, just wanting to get a bit of your insight and kind of see people asking when you're going to play next and wanting to know who you're going to match up against. And so we're all curious. We want to see it. So thanks so much for stopping in. We'll hit you up while you're up in Vegas, and hopefully you can let us know how that match is going.
I am supposed to thank you guys. First off, it's an honor for real to have me. It's an absolute honor. You don't know what kind of work I did. I had to tie 2 cats to a tree. I've got another cat in the closet, and then my dogs I think are in a little container. But anyway, I'm supposed to play Little John a big set at Derby. Just so you guys know, I'm gonna give him a spot. But I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do.
Hey, what are the details?
Huh?
Are the details worked out?
The game's worked out, yeah. But I don't want to talk about the game. But we'll be when it gets closer.
No,
maybe.
I tell you what, we'll be at the Derby and we'll talk to you there. How about that?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet,
awesome.
Man. Scott, we appreciate it, man, as always, and thanks so much for taking time out of your night, man.
It's an honor, man. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining, and don't dog it.